Welcome back. The World Health Organization is warning people not to let their guard down against the coronavirus. The WHO's top scientist says that while existing vaccines provide up to 90% protection against COVID variants, that means even vaccinated people still face some risk.
Everyone should recognize this pandemic's not over. The virus hasn't gone. In fact, it's looking for opportunities to spread and to change itself, mutate and develop new variants. So I think this is the time for caution. It's not that nobody can travel or do anything, but this is really not the time for us to encourage a lot of social mixing, to encourage mass events, especially without precautions.
Well, Russia is one of many places where vaccination rates remain low, under 12% according to Our World in data. On Monday, Moscow and St. Petersburg saw more COVID deaths in a single day than ever before. The mayor of Moscow is quoted by state media as saying that over the past week, the city has also broken new records for hospitalizations. Well, I want to go now to our Matthew Chance, who is in the Russian capital for us. And Matthew, when you look at the data, this latest wave began at the start of this month, and the cases there are rising rapidly.
Yeah, they are. And in fact, over the course of the past 24 hours, there's been the highest number of people that have died because of COVID-19 that have been across the country that have been recorded since the pandemic began. It's over 650 people in the past measured 24 hours. And so it shows you just how serious this third wave is hitting this country, not just in Moscow and St. Petersburg, but across the board. And there are a couple of reasons for that. I mean, one of them, as you mentioned, is that extraordinarily low rate of vaccination in a country that, remember, was the first to register a vaccine for public use anywhere in the world. It's still at hovering around 11 or 12%, the rate of vaccination. There's a high degree of vaccine hesitancy here. That's starting to change within the past few days because the government have imposed very strict rules on public sector workers in the country, or public service rather workers in the country, people who are facing the public in the transport industry and the hospitality industry, things like that, restaurants, cafes, that if they're not vaccinated with at least one dose by the middle of July, then they're not allowed to work in those jobs anymore. So basically it's still voluntary, the government say, but if you don't do it, then you're going to lose your livelihood. So, just how voluntary is it these days for those sections of the workforce in Russia? The other problem is, of course, the Delta variant, which is making a big impact across the world. It's having a big impact in Russia as well. And within the past couple of hours, the people who pioneered and who created the Sputnik V vaccine, which is the main vaccine in Russia, it's the one that they registered before any other vaccine, have said that they don't think it's as effective against the Delta variant, the Delta strain, than against other strains of COVID-19 as well. So that's another worrying sign that this third wave of the pandemic in Russia, could get a lot worse before it gets any better.
Yeah, it certainly sounds that way. Of course, the Kremlin was hoping to have 60% of the population vaccinated by September this year. It's conceded that is definitely not going to happen. And now there seems to be a black market for COVID certificates. People really don't want to get vaccinated.
I mean, that's what's been reported in the local media, that, people are out there trying to buy black market certificates. And certainly there's been an official response to that in the state-run media, which is often a conduit for the views of the Kremlin and the views of the government. They say they're cracking down on what they call these scam artists. And so, yes, I mean, look, there is still a lot of vaccine hesitancy in the country. People believe all sorts of conspiracy theories in this country about the impact a vaccination might have on them. They've got access to the internet. They've got access to the discredited conspiracy theories that have really taken root amongst a big chunk of the population in Russia. And I think some people are clearly prepared to do whatever they have to do, whatever they can do to avoid, getting that vaccination. And so, the fact that in some quarters, in some areas of the economy, the government are now making it essentially compulsory, mandatory for them to have these vaccinations, I think it's kind of, poured, oil on the fire, as it were. And some people are really up in arms that this is being made to happen. But I mean, I think we have to balance the fact that after so long with a valid, workable vaccine, which is free to Russian citizens in the country, and still only with 11 or 12% vaccine uptake, the authorities in Russia, really have to take strong measures now to try and get people actually vaccinated, basically to stop the death tolls from rising even higher, Lynda.
Yeah, incredible. All right, Matthew Chance for us in Moscow. Good to have you there for us. Thank you so much.